the inbound secret.
My name is Bryce, and I'm your host for The Inbound Secret, where we're talking with top performers and health experts and sales badasses alike about their strategies to optimize their well-being and performance. Once again, this is The Inbound Secret, and let's get rocking and rolling.
This is the inbound. This is the inbound. This is the inbound. The inbound. This is the inbound secret.
Welcome to another episode of The Inbound Secret, and today I have a very special guest for you guys. We've got James Smiley here, the one and only. To give you a little insight, if you don't recognize his name, after doing $210 million in sales, $350 million for a SaaS IPO, and I can't even count how many 7-figure and 8-figure funnels that you've been a part of. He's not only featured in ClickFunnels' webinar itself, but also in their guides, their Help Me. He's been called out by Russell. You're doing big stuff over there, man, and I keep seeing your name up. So thank you very much for being on my show today, and I know everybody's excited to hear from you. So without further ado, say hello.
What's up, everybody? What's going on? Appreciate you having me, and thanks for all that. It's been it's always interesting, like when you read like a summary of things you've done, right? Like but to be honest, like every day it's a normal day. I just feel like I'm a normal dude, you know. Just out there working hard every day. So
I love it. And I think that's important because for a long time, and tell me if you've experienced this, but I did. I've had to start over from Subterranean several times. And before I really started the entrepreneurial journey, like really living for my purpose rather than just kind of doing the 40-40-40, right? Mm-hmm. There was always this like invisible bottleneck that I had created mentally for myself, where it was, well, people doing that, they're not the same as me. Like they're not normal people. I can't go associate with these people. But once you start getting into it, I mean, you, Russell, Grant, everybody I've met, people doing things that I aspire to do and get to that level. And at some point I will. They're just regular people.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, like having been on stages, like I spoke at CTIA, CES, I spoke at AT&T Stadium with Robert Herjavec. Like when you tend to think like you're some superhero or whatever, but in all actuality, I think this is how I was raised. You know, my dad just raised me. Like he used to say, like I made my first 6 figures when I was 20. We grew up really poor, so it was like an epic feat. I dropped out of 4 colleges, and you know, my dad's like a true blue collar guy, so it's like, you know, he's not into technology or anything like that, and so to make 6 figures at 20 when he was making $30,000 a year, but he would say to me like, hey, like the day when you wake up and like someone's putting on your pants for you, like or pouring your milk, like a butler or something, he's like, yeah, then you probably like made it, but until then, just get up and work hard. Like you're not anything special, you know. And I don't know. I still put on my pants by myself. I poured my own milk or whatever this morning. So you know, I just go out there and work hard every day, you know, and try to add value. Try to. I think the more, like when I was younger, just to be totally real, like when you make money young and you're not from money, no one teaches you about it. Like for me, like I got like super arrogant like right away, you know, and so I remember like treating people wrong. I remember treating employees wrong. I remember treating waitresses wrong, you know, just everything. And I remember like I was living in LA for a long time, like, you know, going to like Ritz-Carlton and all these like nice places, and then like just treating people wrong, you know. And I remember one day realizing like, why am I being a jerk to people? Like I'm no different than they are, right? Like,
yeah.
And so yeah, it's been an interesting journey. But I think like, as you make more, you start to realize like, hopefully you start to realize like, this money is not making you any happier than you were before. If anything, sometimes it causes more problems. There's bigger problems. The problems are magnified on an epic level. And so it's best, I think, to just try to be more every day about helping people and thinking about how can I help and serve people, and hopefully, that's the thing, that when I interact with people, talk with people, that's what I try, when I hope that comes across, is that no matter what, like I'm here to try to help you.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that really made me want to reach out and have you on the show was I don't know how much you know about what we do here at Funnel Driven and Chimera, but our mantra is you were made to thrive, not just survive, and consistency conquers complacency. And that really stemmed from, like, I've got an upcoming book that talks about it, but I was a prolific mistake maker. I've made every mistake that somebody could possibly make, and I'm only 28. Like, I mean, legal problems, drug problems, money problems, personal problems, family problems, friend problems. Like, I just threw myself in the blender for some reason for like the majority of my life. And I learned a ton of good lessons through that. And it really did break me down to the point where, like, you know how you have to break a stallion before you can ride one, right? It really brought me down to that point, because it was, well, I had to start over so many times, and I learned a lot of lessons, but I did it the hard way. So my big thing is impact over income. Like, that's the biggest thing. And when I saw that we aligned on that, following you a little bit, we've talked a little bit in the past online and in group, I was like, yeah, he needs to be on the show. We need to spread this word. We need to make sure that impact grows. But I think you're absolutely right in, like, once you get to a certain stage, and it's interesting because I think Brown did a study on it, if I'm not mistaken, where the level of happiness to income does have a ceiling, and it's somewhere around like 78,000 a year or something.
I heard
and
that.
and right after that, it's like it takes until you hit like 30 million or something for that feeling to come back.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that, like, we're, for lack of a better term, bred to believe that money solves all problems. And while yes, money will solve most of your problems, it won't make you a better person. It's not going to make you happier. If you're unhappy and you're a bad person, it's just going to amplify that. It's one of those things that, like, if you suck with $20, you're going to suck with 20 million. So
Yeah, you're right. I mean, so, I think, like, once people start earning about, I would say, somewhere in the $20,000 a month range, there isn't much that I remember thinking this when I was like 23, 24, 25, is like, there isn't much that you couldn't buy.
yeah,
Like, if you want a Lamborghini, it's like $2,000 a month. You can just go lease a Lamborghini. Like, and if you're making 20 grand, you should be able to afford a Lamborghini. I mean,
easy.
so you don't need to be a millionaire, like, and so it's like, I'm all for ambition and all those kind of things, and being great, setting new records, innovation, progressing, all those things. But it's like, I think sometimes progress and innovation is like understanding who you are more, and what you want more, so like, one of my really good friends that I talked to quite a bit, Steve Larson, if you guys know him. So like, I was friends with him when he was working at ClickFunnels, and then was really good friends in that whole transition process of him leaving. And now I see like what he's done, and we're just having conversations now, like maybe like 2 years later, on Voxer and things. And it's like there's ways to make the same amount of income working less and even grossing less, right? Like your margin goes up, you work on better type of deals. And so it's really about what people want, right? Like if somebody wants to build a big tech company, well, they're probably gonna have to work 80 to 100 hours a week for 20 years, you know? And that's fine. Like if that's what they want, that's what they want. I think like with solopreneurism becoming bigger now, like with the advance of technology and cloud and all these things, like even what we're using right now, like Zoom and Dropbox and all these ClickFunnels, like these things weren't available 5, 6, 7 years ago, at least not to the at this price and to the availability they are now, and high speed internet on the phones and all that stuff. It's just like this stuff is available now. And so what has happened there is like, I think initially there was this influx in solopreneurism around, I need to become a multimillionaire. Like I haven't made it if I'm not a multimillionaire. Well, a lot of these people, they've made like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, $80,000 a year or $100,000 a year. And they don't even, they really don't know like what they're dreaming about. And there's nothing wrong with dreaming about it, but it's just like, I think as they progress down the line, now that we're a few years into this, they're starting to go, wait a minute, like I'm not sure I want to make more than 200 or 400 or 100 or 80 or whatever, right? Like and I just want people to know like it is okay to do that in terms of income and spend. Maybe you want to be more about family, maybe you want to be more about doing something with your community or church or religious or nonprofit or building homes or whatever. I was just talking to a guy yesterday where he's really, really struggling in his business. He was super open with me, and he wants to join one of our programs. And he just kept talking to me about how passionate he was about building homes, like low income housing for homeless people and things like this. But then he wanted to build these like funnels and all the stuff. And I finally stopped him. I said, bro, it sounds like you need to go build homes. Like this is your deal. Like you love this. You're almost crying talking about it. There's a massive need around the world. Why don't we work on taking that idea? You know, the suppliers, you know, people who build this stuff. Why don't we work with, getting builders, general contractors on board and saying, hey, for every 20 homes you build, fund one of these little, $3,000 homes, or something like that. Right. Like, why don't we work on programs like that where, that's your company. And he didn't care about becoming a millionaire anymore. He was 50 years old now. He didn't care about that, and he's made money in the past. And so, I think, there's a lot of freedom, I think, and just a release of this weight that, people don't have to do all that to feel like they've accomplished something. And on the flip side of it, if you're super ambitious and that's what you want, man, it's there for you. It's there for you more than ever before. The ability to make $10 million or $80 million or $200 million is there for you. And it's there for you more than ever before with things like e-com and software and all these things. I mean, there's people building software now for $3,000 that 8-9 years ago, that would cost you $100,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. Like what's happening right now.
And I love that you brought that up, because Chimera Developments is my software company. And the software that we're doing now, I mean, the most expensive hourly dev rate's $250 now for Silicon Valley graded programmers. And 10 years ago, it would have been, we need $3 million for this base project. And now we can do stuff for 30 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand for the same quality work, if not better, because technology's gotten there.
Yeah, and there's guys making what would have been $100,000 software project. They're building that in a $3,000 Chrome extension or something like that, right? Like these technologies and ways to do it and innovations are there now at a level that just hasn't been there before.
Well, and it's really kind of awe-inspiring. I had another guest a few weeks ago, one of my copywriter friends, Adil Marcy. I don't know if you know who he is.
I know of him.
And we were talking, I've had him on a few times, great guy. And one of the things that we were talking about was kind of this evolution of technology and how it comes, right? And we got on the topic of kind of how fantastic it is that It's 2 points. How fantastic it is that 10 years ago, 2008, 12 years ago, when the last recession hit, like 10 of the top 15 tech companies in the world right now were founded. They
Yeah.
were they were founded in apartments,
Yeah.
garages, living rooms, and just in that 10-year span, we've seen what's possible if you have the drive and passion to help solve a problem for somebody. And that's directly corresponded to, I don't even know who wrote this. I read it in one of the airplane magazines flying back from, I think, Vegas last time. And it mentioned that something like 30 to 40% of millennials are now millionaires, and it's the highest that any generation has ever gotten. And it's corresponded to that tech. Like you mentioned ClickFunnels. 20 years ago, it would have cost you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to have somebody build out the infrastructure that you can do in your living room on a Tuesday now because of softwares like ClickFunnels.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Like we started promoting Groove pages recently, but I've told people like we still use ClickFunnels a ton, and ClickFunnels is it's a true like industry groundbreaking technology. I was talking with one of my business partners yesterday about so we're building this big ecom thing, me and my buddy Cody Neer, and so we were building this funnel, and so we're talking about like developers and all this stuff, and he makes this comment. He goes, hey man, we're both like 7-figure funnel builders, and he goes like, why don't we just do it? And I was like, that's true. Like when you think about like communicating what we want with someone else, going through all the revisions, I mean, you're talking about still hours of work. And the first thought there is, well, then I don't have to do it. But the second thought is, me and Cody know how to do it, and we've done it many times. So we were just like, it would probably take us less hours and be more along, like, because whenever you outsource something, you're probably going to get like 80% of the quality you would have done if you know how to do it. Now, if you don't know how to do it, then you're going to get better. But this is like something we're really good at, is copy, headlines, stories, offers, those kind of things. And so it's like, we were just like, why don't we just do it?
Yeah.
And we were both like, yeah, I don't know why we wouldn't just use ClickFunnels, just do it. Like it's actually faster, more precise, and it's me and him hands-on doing it. And like I try to encourage people who are not technology people, like, you either want to figure out if you want to learn software and ClickFunnels or not. And if you don't, then you need to have somebody in your organization who does that, or a contractor, somebody who helps you with that. But if you're decent with the computer, it's not that hard. If somebody, like in some people's just their generation, like I'm the oldest possible millennial. I'm like 10 days into technically being a millennial. So I'm like grandpa millennial almost. And so it's like, but I grew up, I identify with millennials because I grew up around the technology. And a lot of these like generational classes is how people interact with technology, so like millennials are used to computers, phones, these other gen was Z now, I think it is, like
I think so.
These kids, I mean, they grow up like, with like a shoe to their head. Like I'm like, hey, when I was a kid, the thing had a wire. Like you never, like these kids grow up like, playing with like, this is an eraser. They play with the eraser like it's a phone, like when they were a kid, so because there's stuff going on the phone. Like when I was a kid, the only thing you did was dial, and so but it's really like how you interact with technology. So like if somebody, they could be 30, 40, 50, whatever, but however they interact with technology, if they're not used to it, then they need to have somebody in their organization who's good at it, because that technology is going to be one of the biggest levers in your business. Like, and the biggest thing that I teach in like my I don't know what you would call it, success track record, whatever, basically just working hard. The biggest thing that I'm known for is the word leverage, and teaching what I call the art of leverage, which is like, how do you take 1 hour and make it 100 hours of productivity, or take $1 and make it $100, and it's not magic. It's not hocus pocus crap, or get rich quick stuff at all. But it's like, technology is one of the biggest levers you can use.
Yeah.
So technologies like ClickFunnels, like Dropbox, like Zoom, like Stripe, like all these kind of things make it unbelievably possible now for you to do things you couldn't do before. So it's like you got to have somebody in your business who kind of owns the technology, or you have to learn it. But that's if you're going to be a solopreneur. But it's amazing what's happening. Like, it's the most amazing stories, in the past 5 years. I've had the most amazing solopreneur stories. I mean, I got people selling $10,000 packages as a soccer coach to soccer leagues. We got people who are in Tai Chi who are selling Tai Chi lessons one-on-one for $20 a pop. Now they're selling them for $1,000 a month. Yeah. And they've learned to sell them to executives and things like that. This stuff is like, it's just amazing. Like what is happening with people who are willing to learn and build a real company, like all the get rich quick people, they either go away, but at the end of the day, whether they say it or not, they just get frustrated and go away. And, you can't read the headlines and believe that it's that easy. Like, I just made a post yesterday that said, my podcast launch that did $88,000 and $111,000 in 64 days. Okay. Mm-hmm. That is a headline that we have to write in order to get somebody to read. Yeah. If it that is the game. Okay. Like, there's so much going on. Like, you have to get their attention first. Now, like, what I try not to do in that article is say, you don't have to work. You don't have to do anything. You don't need any experience. You don't need, and by the way, this is not get rich quick. And it's like, I hate it when people say that. I'm like, dude, you literally just said this is get rich quick. And then you try to come back and say, oh, by the way, this is not get rich quick. It either is or it isn't. So, and we all know just nobody makes money on get rich quick.
No, not at all. But there is some validity to it is that easy.
You're right. You're right. So there's this flip side of it, right? Like, you don't want to say it's because, like, there was this huge buildup of all this time and all these failures and all this whatever, but there is this like get rich quicker, like, when it comes in, like everyone trips out on entrepreneurism when they fail really hard and they fall on their face really hard. Well, you can fall forward just as fast as you can fall backwards. If you can take one step forward and 3 steps back, why couldn't you take 1 step back and 3 steps forward? And so
100%. And I think that, like, that goes into one of my favorite Marshall Silver quotes: fail forward fast. Right. But the validity in it is that easy is we were socioeconomically programmed through school that's designed to make factory workers, through the basic economy that's designed to keep an even playing field, in an average mindset, because that's what we were typically raised around or seen. But once you start actually doing it, you do realize, and for everybody listening, it is that easy. Just do the damn thing. Yeah. If you keep doing the damn thing, eventually something returns. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
You're right. So think about anything like sports or anything that's easy for people to understand. Okay, like you might practice for years trying to become a college or professional athlete, but once you get there, it is remarkably easy. Like this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, I'm one of them, and it is remarkably easy to maintain a job somewhere in the league. Or like, when you're there, you're there. When you have the talent, you're there. And so now, like, it's funny because, like, a couple years ago, we started, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago, when we really got behind ClickFunnels and all these things. And it was just like, we were like, hey, on any given day, we can start a launch right now, launch tomorrow, and make $5,000 or $10,000 on any given day.
Yeah.
And we were just like, the speed of that is insane. Like,
Well, and talking about the speed, like one of our most recent clients, we launched at 11:28 before Black Friday, ran a promo for him. As of this morning, they're just shy of 40 grand.
that's awesome.
It's been like 4.5 days, right?
Yeah.
And you see all the time in ClickFunnels or in Facebook groups or just in your timeline or on LinkedIn or Quora or Reddit, any of these places, and they're like, how come? How can I do this? I see it all the time. I can't figure it out. And it's really like, it comes down to three things, right? There's three main components in any marketing or advertising campaign: technology, offer, audience. It's probably not the technology that's failing.
Yeah.
It's probably your offer, your audience.
Yeah.
And if you just spend a little bit of time thinking about, hey, how would I like to buy something, right?
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much can fix those two problems.
Yeah.
Pretty fast.
Yeah. I found, having coached almost 600 paid students in 5 years, it's like if I were to, because I really look at like the macro level data a lot. That's why I've had contracts with like Amazon, Facebook, AT&T, people like that, is I'm pretty good at the macro level stuff. It's like when I look back at this program, I'm like, a major issue for people has been traffic in their audience. And it's like, you can have a mediocre offer. If you've got a red hot audience, man, you can make a lot of money, and I've seen people do that. I've seen people, I don't want to name any names because they're friends of mine, but I've seen them start out, their offer is subpar. Their copy is horrible. Their video follows no script at all. And they make like 50 grand. And I'm like, wow, so-and-so got that traffic from so-and-so. So this is what I call leverage, right? It's like they're leveraging someone else's audience, someone else's show, someone else's podcast, someone else's event, whatever. But then they use that as a learning to make themselves better. And now years later, they're phenomenal at it, and so what another thing that I found, just trying to understand like how do people really get these audiences out of nowhere? So number one, if somebody is a good communicator, like there's a difference between like an entertainer and a trainer, but so it's like really like finding your audience there. But like if somebody's a really good communicator, they generally can get an audience, especially with social media nowadays. I mean, a lot of, like, I've seen great communicators on Facebook, and we just help them put their stuff on YouTube. Like some place where long tail, it's gonna build and build and build and build and build. Versus Facebook, it's like gone, right? Like 37 seconds later, it's like, why can't you find that guy's post, And so it's like, so some, but yeah, I mean, like people who are good communicators, people who understand social science, they understand, taking care of people, they understand being in a niche, like, and also like working in their passion, communicating within their passion. So like, in the past year, we've niched down even harder because I'm just in a situation where I'm not about how much money can I make anymore. It's about I want to live at a certain level, which is a lot, but I mean I have a high standard, but it's like I'm not trying to build another $20,000 or $50,000 company unless it's a certain type of company that has a ton of leverage. And so for me, it's more about freedom and things like that. Spending time with my kids. I have 4 really young kids. So like, it's really easy for me to niche down into my passion, which right now has really been like a lot of things happening socially and things like this, politics and stuff like this. And so, number one, no, whether it's that for you or whether it's a sport or outdoors or health or entrepreneurism or whatever, but playing in a niche and having niche content is the people who just become great at going from nowhere to getting an audience and seeing 6-figure launches. They're good at finding these niches, and they really get in those niches. They're self-confident in those niches. They're not afraid to be bold in those niches, and they're trying to they're trying to, I don't want to say trying to, but they're almost like they're willing to offend people who aren't in that niche.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine, right? Like we have one guy, he's a hunter, and fishermen hate him. and it's like they're both in the outdoors, but fishermen hate this guy. If you have a gun, you think this guy's cool, and so it's like, but I mean, but what I love about Russell's book, I think I always have his book here, is .com Secrets, is oh yeah, shoot, I do have it right here, is I love how he talks about like this principle that's been out for a long time, but he does a good job of like really explaining it. Is this principle like you only need 1,000 true fans?
Yeah.
And I hope people like let the weight of building this massive company fall off of you. Like you only need 1,000 people, and if you honestly take care of them, serve them, care about them. There's a difference between seeing them as a customer and a client. One thing I talk about is like, client means you actually care about their well-being. You care about their things like their security, their safety, maybe security online, security of their money, security of their family. A customer is a completely transactional relationship. It's like you go to Walmart, you're a customer. You're in and out. Hey man, do you know where this is? Nope. Okay, thanks, bro. You're wearing the jersey. Awesome. Do you want me to show you where that is so you know next time? Not really. Okay, cool, man. Just appreciate you having a job. Thank you. So it's fine. It's a customer, right? Like I'm just a customer. It's complete transactional. But like, you go to a boutique store, man, they, hey, did you know how we got started? No. They tell you their story.
Yeah.
They want to know your story, right? Like they want a connection. And that is one of the easiest things to do. Guys, this is free. Like you don't have to pay to tell your story or pay a whole bunch of money to learn how to connect with people, right? Like this is all free stuff that you just have to implement out there and care, and so it doesn't matter if you're a local business doing local retail, local services, or doing stuff online or e-com or whatever. These social principles apply, and these are the people that I see for sure who come in and they can do really well. It almost doesn't matter if they're selling toothpaste or ink pens or shirts or courses. When their audience is on to them, it doesn't matter what they sell.
So talking about connection, I want to kind of explore that a little. We've talked passion, we've talked tools, we've talked connection, we've talked story. Are you willing to kind of go into your story a little bit? Like what's the passion that drove you? What got you from where you were, your parents' son, to who we all know as Mr. Smiley now? What was in the middle of that?
Yeah. So without making that like 10-minute story. So when I was young, I was told by everybody, including a lot of times parents or whatever, which is, I'm not trying to bag on my parents at all, but I'm saying that for people who had parents who weren't that positive.
Mm-hmm.
Is a lot of times I was told that I wasn't that smart. I wasn't going to go anywhere. I was going to go to jail, all these kind of things. And guess what? That's kind of what happened. I ended up not being that smart. I went to jail at 16. I was involved in a lot of drugs, got involved in a lot of, I wouldn't say true gangs, but like those kind of like cliques, where it's like, we're out doing organized crime, we're not just like hanging on a street corner. We're actually thinking of like something to go do with organized crime at 15, 16 years old. And so but then there was this other side of me that like I was in advanced science and math classes. I was that stuff came super smart to me, super easy to me. And also I entered into this class in my high school called entrepreneurism, which I didn't know anything about, but somebody told me like, dude, you need to get in this class. This is totally you. And I got in this class and I loved it. And I thought, man, like I literally remember almost that entire year to this very day. I'm 40 years old. I literally remember being like 17 years old and in this class. And I remember the projects and I created these like these ads for like, so we had to create our own products. So I had this cologne called Smell Me Now. one like the most popular in the school and all this stuff. And we had these commercials and stuff, and then we had this like entrepreneurial project we had to do. And so I created an entire car show in front of the school, like, so right in front of the school on this like entrepreneurial day where you're supposed to like demo your, it's like, hey, here's my product. It's a piece of wood that we sell, and this is my business. Like, that's what most people did. Well, I had this massive thing. I got sponsors. I called everybody from sports coaches to people in the magazines locally. And I said, hey, you've got a nice car. Come down, show it at this event. It's for entrepreneurs and blah, blah, blah. I sold it hard. There was like 20 or 30 hot rods and all these cars out front. The principal could not believe what was happening. They were like, James, you pulled this off? Dude, this is how far as I went. Didn't have any morals or anything like this. So I called all the strip clubs and said, hey, bring your girls down. Okay. So I had strippers at high school. I had strippers. I had hot rods. I had music from like Phoenix speakers and amplifiers. They sent all this car amplifier stuff, this huge like $10,000 or $8,000 kit to us. And
it sounds like a great time.
Dude, it was crazy. I was 17 years old. And the principal was like, number one, I was always in trouble with this guy. This guy hated me, but he walked up to me, and I remember this like it was yesterday. And he's like, James, you need to do something with this. Like, what you're doing here, this is you. Like, this is how you contribute to the world. Not the drugs, not the gangs, not the getting expelled. I got kicked out of schools, expelled out of districts, all kinds of stuff. And like, but he was like, this is what you need to do. And so I still didn't have mentorship, anything like that. But all I knew was like, I started to realize that people live differently than we did. And so I started to realize like people lived in nice homes. People ate good food. People, drove nice cars. Like, just to tell you like how poor I was, like, I remember driving down the road on I-5 in downtown Seattle, driving through in traffic and looking at the car next to me and realizing they have dash lights and we don't. And I remember thinking like, man, that car looks like a spaceship. Like, look at all the dash lights.
Just as a quick kind of segue, are you in Seattle?
I'm in Dallas, but I was 20 years in Seattle, 12 years in LA.
I was born in Seattle.
What part?
Right up I-5, about 15 minutes in Mount Lake Terrace.
Okay. So I was like mostly South Seattle. I grew up in Beacon Hill, Rainier Valley.
Nice.
Played sports at Rainier Valley. In fact, I always show this. This is my sports card playing at Rainier Valley.
Hell yeah.
It even says on the back, I think it says, let me see if it'll focus.
There we go.
It says Rainier, see the league like halfway down. That's Rainier.
That's awesome.
Rainier Valley. So, and then kind of was like, I got kicked out of some schools, ended up at Kentwood, played football at Kentwood, stuff like that. And then, so anyway, like, so like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I wasn't like the worst kid in the school, but I was definitely like someone that principals didn't want in the school. They were like, this kid is not a good role model, all this stuff. So anyway, long story short, everywhere I went, I knew I had to make more money, and I knew inherently I didn't have enough leverage. Now, I didn't know the word leverage. I just knew I was pushing up a hill, and I had that feeling all the time. And I think most people, especially in the lower middle class, they have that feeling, and they just feel like whatever the hell I'm doing is so unproductive. Like, you know what I mean? They're just like, they always have this thought of like, oh, okay, so in order for me to have that, how many hours do I have to work? Let me see. Oh, damn, my whole life I'm going to work.
No.
Like, and this is what they're selling me. Oh, yeah, cool. Just work 60 years, with two weeks a year off, and you're going to be good, man. That's your life, your whole life right there. Hopefully you're not sipping out of a straw by then, And I remember thinking like, this is insanity. Like, I'm going to be in my prime of my life, my 20s and 30s. Like, why should I not be making money and being successful and doing whatever I want? And so I kind of like conned my way into jobs, man. I'd do anything I could, anything I wouldn't say con, but I literally would go into interviews and I remember, so my breakthrough job was I got a job at Nextel being a B2B sales rep at like 20 years old. And I was the only 20-year-old. Everyone was like 30, 40, really like 40 and 50 on the team.
Mm-hmm.
88 salespeople. And I'm like this literal kid that comes in. And I'm so ghetto. I'm wearing a suit with a chain, like a gold chain on the outside. I still have pictures of this. And I have like this rubber band watch that I had bought in Venice Beach, California when I was a kid. I didn't have like a nice metal watch. I had like a rubber band watch. And but all I knew is I need to get in here and hustle. I mean, I can out hustle all these guys. And I just went in there and told the manager, I said, look, man, you see all those guys out there? There's no way they have more energy, more passion than I do. No way. And I said, I can outsell and out hustle all those guys. And I may not know how to talk to executives, but I can tell you this. I believe that an executive would rather work with somebody who is passionate and there to help them and will just do something like always answer the phone and always be there for them than somebody who has 20 years of experience and knows everything about the technology, but they can't get a hold of them. And he just looked at me like, dude, you're right. He's like, how do you know that? I'm like, I don't know, but I just know that that's true.
Yeah.
I was like, am I lying? And he goes, no, you're not. And in the back of my head, I was like, damn, that worked. I can't believe that. Like, I couldn't believe, like, I was just using my own logic and it was true, you know? And so I became one of the top sales reps. I was selling and doing stuff I wasn't even supposed to do. I was selling in accounts I wasn't supposed to sell into. I was getting in trouble. Like, I'm kind of like a rebel kind of a guy, you know? So it's like, I was selling into accounts I wasn't commissioned on, but I still crushed it. And so I got the attention so this is around 2001 or so. And then I got the attention of software companies that were building software onto mobile devices, which is what I was selling, was Blackberries and things like this. Mm-hmm. This is like the generation 1 smartphone before iPhone, any of this stuff. And so they were like, hey, we're building technology on this and you know about it. You're leading in sales. You're this passionate guy we see and hear all the time. Do you want to come run sales for our company? And so like, I have no clue what I'm getting into. I don't know what Silicon Valley is. I don't know. Like, this is not a joke. I actually thought it was called Silicon Valley. I thought it was a joke. I'm not kidding. I literally thought it was a joke. Like, I've heard people say, well, that's derogatory. I'm like, no, I literally thought it was called Silicon Valley. That's what I thought. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know about the .com boom. I didn't know anything. And here I am, like right smack dab in the middle of a booming industry. And I just, you know, like, I think one thing that I tell people is like, I had to get off drugs. I had to stop drinking. That was my personal thing. I was just way too hard of a drinker. And I had to be in my right mind so that when opportunities came about, I was smart enough to capitalize. And I was aware and I had the energy to capitalize on them. And so that's my personal thing, whether somebody is that's for them or not. But I can tell you it works. Like, you want to be in your right mind in key situations in your life, you know? And so I ended up getting this job as the 5th or the 6th employee of this company called Telenav. We were telephone navigation. We're version 1 of Google Maps. I had no idea what I'm walking into. You know, we have almost no revenue.
Telenav was huge.
Dude, it was like, we have 2 of our original Series A funders, VCs, were in Google round 1. I mean, we had the biggest, we had Menlo Ventures, like we had big time companies behind us. And the only reason we tanked our IPO was because Google literally jacked all of our stuff and said, they just said, hey, here's how you sue us. Go ahead and sue us. Good luck. $100 million later, you might get something out of us, you know? And so, but we, you know, like through all that time, I hustled. I trained over 12,000 affiliates across the country. I basically learned this whole thing about affiliates and indirect channels and things like this. And I said, okay, like indirect sales. So I was like, so if Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint, and all these guys won't just bring us in, why don't I just go to their indirect channel and I'll offer an affiliate program to all these guys? And so I would get in with all these like little cell phone shops. And then I
Yeah.
realized like, oh, there's master dealers over all these guys. So then I would go them and I would essentially like pay them off. I'd be like, hey man, I'll give you 20 grand and sponsor your event. So it's not like paying them off, but kind of,
Yeah.
right? Like, hey man, I'll sponsor your event. I'll buy drinks for everybody.
You
but-
just lobbied the hell out of some cell phone companies.
yeah. I mean, we just went in there and just hustled, man. And
Yeah.
we out hustled everybody. And so that, you know, we had gone from pretty much zero to $350 million. We were $1 billion valuation. We had an IPO that was, you know, at least in the location-based services like GPS space, it was one of the biggest ever. Our competitors were like Garmin and you know, TomTom and we crushed all those guys. MapQuest, we crushed everybody. Everybody who's in location, we stole all their customers, you know.
Yeah.
And then we were so big, Google came in to try to buy us like twice. We actually were not that far from Google in Silicon Valley. We're like a couple blocks away. And so they came in, tried to buy us a couple times. They wanted to buy us at 1/10 of our valuation. And we were like, dude, get out of here. Well, we should have sold because we would have made more money then.
I was gonna say, if I remember correctly, Telenav kind of got the shaft on that one. So selling was
totally.
probably the smart move.
Totally. Yeah. So, you know, it's funny. It's like, so in the beginning of this conversation, I said, your problems are magnified. Like, well, this is like $1 billion problem that we screwed up on. So, like I had a house picked out in Malibu and then all of a sudden I was like, oh damn. You know, I live in SoCal.
Looks like I'm going to Sacramento, not Malibu.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm like, houses in Arizona are pretty good. You know, so, it's funny. I ended up buying homes in Oregon instead of Malibu. So, but anyway, so, yeah, I mean, so, you know, so, but see, even through that failure, it was like, I learned that, like, to me, it was a failure. Like we had worked all this time. And when the IPO happened, I had actually already left the company. I thought the thing was tanking before that.
Yeah.
And so I had left the company a couple years before, but was still like a shareholder and all this stuff. So I was involved in the IPO, but it wasn't this big hurrah. In fact, the CEOs still work there. So that tells you nobody made, you know, $50 million or something crazy, like, because they still work there.
Yeah.
And so, but here's the thing is the leverage that happened through that has set me up for the rest of my life. Like there is no place I can get a job anywhere at any tech company. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of CEOs that know me now. You know, these guys have anywhere from 10 to $1 billion companies. And so it's like, if I want to work pretty much anywhere, I can be like, hey, remember me? And I can get in the door and people trust me. And that's what allowed me to get into consulting a lot. It was, you know, right around 2005, 2006, I started the side business consulting and then it just boomed from there. Like I started realizing there was a gap in knowledge between, like, in any industry, especially around technology, social media, digital marketing. It was like the knowledge was going up. Like every day you were losing track of what was going on, what was happening, how you could use these platforms. So like the knowledge available was going up, but people's knowledge was staying flat. And I basically said, hey, you will pay me and I'll close that gap for you in a day.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what, that was my whole pitch. It was like, hey, I'll bring you up to speed, but you got to pay me. And then you can make money off this forever. And that's what they would do. And it was crazy. You know, I actually got, a lot of people don't, I mean, like, I served over, it was like a 6-year period. I was contracting with this company called Tribecta Insights. I think the company's still around. They're in New York City in the Tribecta district. And what they would do was they were stock investors. And what they would do is they would get companies that were interested in technology stocks. Well, they needed a consultant to be able to tell these companies what's going on in this market. Who are the players? Who's the competition? What you know, where do you think this is going to go? So I became this expert in anything around mobile apps, social media, all this kind of different technology. And so I was doing, like, it was nothing like to get like 3 to 5 clients a day. People, I had no idea who these people are. I'm on the phone with CEO after CEO after CEO and getting paid between $300 and $500 an hour to talk to these people. So it was insane. Like I'd sit there at the end of the day, I'm like, damn, I just made $3,000 today just talking on the phone.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking from my cell phone. There was no Zoom or nothing like that. And so, you know, I was doing that on the side of my job, you know, and as long as it wasn't a competitor for who I was working for, it was fine, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, like you know, I was like an insider, you know, and so people would pay to get that kind of information. And by the way, that is still to this day what we do. And that opportunity is out there more than ever before. I tell people, like, the opportunity in consulting is crazy, you know, especially all the people who have read Russell's book. One of the biggest, just a plug for Russell, I mean, like, one of the biggest things you could do is take what's in that book and find niches that have no idea about it. And there's like literally probably 1,000 niches that have no idea about that book or anything in that book, you know. And you could go in there, work with the top tech companies or the top companies in that industry and help them understand what that's about, you know?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's one of those things that, like, we here at Funnel Driven, we specialize in intent and affinity backed AI powered omnipresent ecosystems, lead generation, client acquisition, sales, right? Those are our priorities. And we've created our own methodology: Thrive Selling, 5 C's of Scale, 4 Pillars of Growth. We've got all of these developments, tools, expertise that we've gone through. But it's one of those things that, like, even it's what we get paid for, right? The coaching, consulting, and development, as well as asset management. But I'm the first one to tell somebody when they're on the phone, like, yeah, you could do this yourself. Like, you're not paying me to do something you can't do. You're paying me to just do it faster.
Sure.
It's speed to access is really what it is. And that's what you guys have specialized in for so long, is just speed of knowledge.
Yep.
Rather than that CEO having to go out and pick up 50 books and spend a couple months just face down into text, you can come in and in one day, boom, they're caught up and now they can leverage.
Yeah. We just had we run our agency is a lot smaller now. We try to stay within like 3 to 5 clients, but and we mostly focus on consulting and coaching, but like it's interesting how, you know, so we just got this like couple $100,000 deal recently. I did a big case study about it and stuff like that. And, you know, like this deal will probably be worth $300,000 or $400,000 by the end of the first year, because we come in with, you know, ads, you know, just normal Google, Facebook, you know, that kind of stuff. And then it develops into funnels, then it develops into websites, then it develops into, you know, paid TV stuff, over the top TV stuff, billboard stuff, whatever. And by the way, guys, if you don't know any of this stuff, you can contract all this stuff. Like, you can find people who are the experts, who run, you know, good agencies, and basically this is how you get a lot of leverage is, you know, you can get paid well for connecting people who need that service and people who provide that service, you know?
Oh yeah.
And that's one of the most easiest ways to make money nowadays is people. It's funny how, like, how many people come into some of our programs and they're stuck for months pulling their hair out on funnels and copy and email sequences. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know that person? And you know that person? Why don't you just hook them up and you'll make $3,000 a month without even doing anything? Just as a residual off them doing business together. You know what I mean? And so, you know, it's like, this is true, like biz dev, business development is like, you know, helping people connect. And there's, it's what I call like it's a high leverage move. It's a couple hours of your work. It's super high value. These two companies are ecstatic that you connected them, and they will pay you for that. And you never built a funnel or did anything. You know?
Yeah, I mean, just last night we were running the end of our Cyber Monday promo, and we did something we haven't done ever. We did 60% off all developments. It was our biggest offer we've ever done. And we had 2 people right at the end that were kind of just on the edge that were like, do I not want to? We closed them both, but they were all from an affiliate. An affiliate sent them over. He made like $2,000 at like 11 p.m. last night. He didn't do shit. All he did was connect us.
Yeah. You know, and that's where I think that's a missing thing. I think that people need to start looking into more is, like, if there's a gap in entrepreneurism that that it's not really like Russell's background. I hate to say there's a gap in Russell's stuff because he's one of the smartest people I've ever talked to, you know. Literally he's one of the smartest people. But it's that whole, like, you know, business development side, business growth, and yeah, I mean there's more money made there than online. I mean, like there are billions and billions of dollars made in that industry of just connecting people, you know.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So talking about connecting people, we've got to wrap up here, but before I have you leave everybody with how to contact you, how to find you, how to reach out to you if they want to know more about you, if they need to hire you, what would you say? I want a favor from you, if that's okay.
Sure.
What would you say are like the 3 gold nuggets for people listening that they could do, implement, or use as leverage today to help them get to that next level or get over whatever they're plateaued at?
The biggest thing I would say is, number one, the first thing you need to do is write down what's milestone number 1 financially for you. Not your grand slam home run, you're going to the beach, but what's stage 1? For some people, it's I need to supplement this type of income from my job. For some people, it's $2,000 a month. For some people, it's $100,000 a month. But you know, come up with something realistic. Like if you can't make $5,000 a month, you ain't making $100,000 a month. You got to cross first before you get the second, right? So it's like, you know, so what's milestone number 1? That's the first thing. Number 2, we have this thing called the opportunities matrix, where you need to look at all the opportunities that you have, write them on a whiteboard, write them on a piece of paper, on a spreadsheet, whatever, and look at which one gives me the most leverage. Okay. It may or may not be something you want to do, but which one gives you the most leverage and is the path of least resistance to make money quickly? Because what I've learned in entrepreneurism, especially in solopreneurism, it's like, if you can make $1,000, it will give you the momentum and the positive energy and the ad spend and the team to make $10,000.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're always trying to swing for the fence, you never learn how to, you know, just hit the ball, you know? And so it's like, you got to hit the ball. I don't care if it's a fly out. I don't care if it goes out of bounds, but you got to hit the ball first, you know? And typically people don't just start crushing grand slam home runs before they even know how to hit the ball. And so, I think, you know, like looking at your opportunities and objectively saying, okay, this one and this one are the best, the highest leverage moves that I can make right now. And then, and I would say, and then, you know, really go down deep into that, in terms of like, number 1, how do I do? Typically people don't have a lot of money for ad spend, things like that. So I would say, one of the first things would be, figure out how to do some type of organic launch, whether it's to your social audience, number 2, to your email list, if you have one or don't. And number 3, don't let that be an excuse if you don't have either one of those. Find a partner, find somebody with an Instagram page, find somebody with a Facebook group, find somebody.
Yeah. Somebody
has that audience. This is what I talk about leverage. People are like, oh my God, I have to build an audience of 2,000 people. No, you don't. There's somebody who has that audience already. Go talk to them. If they won't work with you, go talk to somebody else. There's not only one person. Go find somebody else, you know? And if they won't work with you, find a way to serve them better. You know, you might have to have a funnel where you give them 100% of the first offer and you only make money on upsells. But hey, you built a list, you made some sales, and you know, you're starting to get to point A, right? And then the idea here now, if you're going to be a real entrepreneur, don't spend all your money right away. Okay. Like you can make a post and be happy and, hey, I made 5,000 or whatever, 10,000 or whatever. But it's like, don't go and spend all that money, because that is the money you need to run your business. So there's 2 things you want to spend money on right away. It's going to be ads, so marketing, and people or resources. Like you need to at least offload a little bit to somebody, whether it's a VA or you need some mini me or somebody who does something significant that you don't want to do. You probably need somebody in your company. That's one thing. Number 2, you're probably going to need to invest into marketing. And I would think ads would be a good thing. So it's like, make money organically. If you have to rev share with somebody on a JV, just do it. make some money, then take that money. I mean, seriously, like if you can take 100% of that money and run it back into ads, that would be your best option. Now, the other thing that I will just add on top of that is one of the best ways to make money. I have a whole system on this, so I can give people kind of the crux of how it works, is make a list of people that you know who are some type of VIP type of person, whether it's an executive, an influencer, whatever. Everybody you know, and if people go, well, I don't know anybody. I'm like, dude, pull up your social media. Okay, you only have 600 people. I guarantee you in that 600 people, you have at least 20 people who are some executive, owner, whatever. You write all those people down, okay? Then look on that sheet and see, does any of these people, could they work with each other? So this is one of the first like serious 6-figure businesses that I started. I was like, I'm going to be in. So someone told me about being in the connection business and making like 5% off each person or 2% off each person in the deal. And so this has paid me 6 figures a year residually without ever talking to these people almost ever again for like over a decade. Like you can make a stupid amount of money doing this. And now your job becomes following up every month saying, hey, did you exchange any money with this person? Okay, send me my 3% or whatever your deal is, right? And so your job becomes collecting, but that's easier than building a funnel, building a VSL, paying for ads. You know what I mean? So, so you would be surprised how many times you can do that, where you can connect to people, make a significant amount of money, and yeah, I mean, it's off to the races after that. So, those are. I always tell people, even if you have a good business, this is a good side business. This is easy money that you may have to make a couple text messages to introduce people, a couple phone calls. And even if it paid you $5,000 a year, that's $5,000 a year for making a couple phone calls, So, so that's some gold that I can give you guys. If you guys go out there and implement that, that's easy money.
I appreciate it. I know everybody listening, somebody's going to take action. If you don't, you should take action. Now, for those of you who want a little bit more, maybe they want the matrix, maybe they want to talk to you, maybe they just need to hire you, maybe it's all of them. Where can they find you?
So people can either PM me on Facebook. We have a team that like scans through our PMs every day. I try to read as many as I can, to be honest with you. And then, so that's one way, is just connect with me on Facebook. Number 2, jamessmiley.org. There's free stuff on there. There's a lot of stuff, but there's ways to connect with me on there as well. So you can, schedule calls and things like that. So, but yeah, if I can help anybody, for sure, let me know.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I know everybody listening does. We're definitely going to have to do this again. So let's talk about that. I want to thank you again for being on the show, and everybody listening. This was another episode of The Inbound Secret. Thanks, Bryce. Appreciate you guys.
This is the Inbound Secret.
My name is Bryce, and I'm your host for The Inbound Secret, where we're talking with top performers and health experts and sales badasses alike about their strategies to optimize their well-being and performance. Once again, this is The Inbound Secret, and let's get rocking and rolling.
This is the Inbound. This is the Inbound. This is the Inbound. This is the Inbound.